Dear reviewer, good evening. With me tonight, a person who has honestly believe in the community, believe as an immigrant within the ethnic minority, and she want to run for Congress to represent not just herself, but the ethnic minority that Michigan are multi-part of all this ethnic minority. With me, Carmelita Greco. Carmelita, welcome to MEA.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Can you tell me more about yourself? What kind of profession you do? How long you've been doing this profession?
Yes, of course. I'm a mother of three, and I live in Northville, Michigan.
Yes.
I'm a former financial consultant. I'm an entrepreneur, which included fashion design at one point in my life. And I'm also a founder of a nonprofit called the International Fine Art Fund, which is a platform for faith-based artists.
Tell me more about this organization.
So the International Fine Art Fund is a platform for faith-based artists. I've been a voice for religious liberty within the arts.
Okay.
So we support all different types of artists, and as well as curate art shows. And it's, as far as devotional art goes, within the contemporary art world, there's kind of a pushback towards devotional work. So I try to be a voice for these artists that have a deep devotional quality within their work.
Great. Are you living all your life in Michigan?
Born and raised in Michigan, in Van Buren Township.
Yes.
But I went to school at the University of North Texas in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I spent some time in Miami working as a financial consultant with Charles Schwab. I had quite an international clientele. Some of those clients were coming from Venezuela and places that I'm more familiar, more on the dialogue
South
today.
America and
Yes.
Latino and all that.
My whole family lives here in between Van Buren Township, some in Dearborn and Northville.
I see. I know you're running for 11 district.
Yes.
Can you tell me what 11 district combine, which cities is part of this district?
Yes, so it's part of Oakland and Wayne County.
Okay.
And it's quite a few cities. Some of those cities, Northville, Novi, Livonia, Clawson, Milford, White Lake, Walled Lake, Bloomfield Hills, Troy,
Troy, yeah.
West Bloomfield,
Wow.
some of Rochester Hills, Wixom. There's quite a few of those cities.
I could tell you in those cities.
South Lyon. Yeah.
There is at least about 200 and 250,000 Middle Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
They are the Syrian, the Iraqi Chaldean,
Mm-hmm.
the Lebanese, the Egyptian, the Yemenis, Palestinian, Jordanian, Radford, Livonia, Nova.
Mm-hmm.
So the community are heavy in those cities.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, when I talking to you, what you believe in, it's what belief this community is.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little background of your involvement with the politics?
With politics.
And why you decide to run for Congress?
Well, I'm clearly a political outsider, but never had an aspiration.
No corruption.
No, a political outsider. So I never had really interest in running for politics until the last, I would say, 5 years. And I saw a rise in socialism in this nation.
Yes.
And saw this movement in our youth, and also just many personal stories of people that have suffered under that system. And now that system of socialism was becoming...
You know about the country who had those social systems and what happened to them.
Exactly. And I had, as I mentioned earlier on when I was a financial consultant, some of my clients were fleeing from Venezuela. And I heard that they were fleeing with only 1/10 of what their company was worth.
Yes.
So their families were being displaced. And this was probably about 12 years ago. Also, what has happened to Cuba and many other nations. I also have friends from Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, and Albania, and the suffering, as also the loss of religious liberty under these systems.
Absolutely.
I had a conversation yesterday from a business owner originally from Albania, and he said that when they became communist, they were the first country to declare themselves as an atheist state. So all the mosques, all their churches, everything was burned down. Yes. So under communism, and socialism is a step toward communism, faith is persecuted. And as somebody of deep faith, that's an importance to me. And I know it's important for many people that have come to this country. Even the founders of this nation came here. were being persecuted in Europe and wanted a place where they had religious liberty. So it's a core principle in America, religious liberty and being a voice for that.
Carmelita, why you think that wave came suddenly in the past? It's been there, but quietly. But why it came in that strong wave in the past 2-3 years or 2 years? Why is that happening?
I think that there's just a long progression and a movement towards it. So socialism happens, kind of pecks at the culture one piece at a time. And there have been movements over our history. We look back into the 80s.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was a voice against communism and socialism. So there had been socialism and communism has been creeping into the American culture, I want to say, since the 1920s. And there's even information about how the Soviets were infiltrating America and funding communism during the 1920s.
Yes.
But why recently? I think it has a lot to do with what's happening in our educational institutions through some of our programs. I'm not a big fan of Common Core, which is a educational program that has come into many of our educational institutions, as well as 1 out of every 47 college professors is conservative. So there's a far left leaning in a lot of our colleges.
Why do you let that to happen throughout the years? Yes, I believe about 80% of the professors who teach those children, the students, are either socialists or communists.
Yeah.
Why we allow that to happen in our schools and universities and colleges?
Well, I think the American people, I just think that...
We're talking since Reagan.
Yeah.
Till now. Why we didn't change it? Why we didn't get involved?
Yeah.
Why those, there is many organizations who believe in democracy, who believe in faith and value and all. Why those people, they didn't do nothing? Why they just watch it till that happened now?
Yeah, I think, I think it's just American people, we're comfortable. We enjoy the pleasures of life here in this country, and I think at some level we're complacent in some ways, and we're not always we're not concerned about the attack on our freedom until we really see a radical uprising like we're witnessing right now with groups like Antifa and BLM that are talking about defunding our police and fundamentally changing our country. I also think that the Obama administration did a lot to cause race tensions as well as push policies that were socialist policies, as well through Obamacare and such.
Was believing in socialists.
And so I think the Obama administration had a lot to do with it. Our education system, infiltrated with different programs, has a lot to do with it. Our college system, I think we can do a lot with deciding where our kids go, and how we spend our dollars, as far as in college, where we send our kids to college. But there's so many aspects, and I believe that there are global arms that are also affected.
Global arms, that's important.
Yeah,
because they're
and
not
that's
here
what we're
alone.
seeing as well.
Yeah. There is the people who's globally, encourage them and probably putting a lot of money toward that too.
Yes, there's so many areas. If we look at China and how they are funding propaganda.
Yes.
And some of that propaganda is coming into our schools, others through our media, and I think that much of our media nowadays is propaganda. If you really look at it, is it really giving you a clear voice, or is it leaning just into one narrative without and just telling you a narrative they want you to hear? So we're being infiltrated and fundamentally attacked on so many levels.
Yes. And 90% of the Chinese students, they are here for a purpose of poisoning our children and spying on American society and business.
I think that China does send a lot of spies, and they have been known to steal a lot of our information, technology and such. So that's something that I believe President Trump is addressing, and I think we do need to address, because we're coming to find out China is still a communist nation. They've gone more towards capitalism in the last 20 years, and so but they're controlled. Yeah, they're controlled by the government.
Yeah, Carmelita. Yes, there is those radical, but I believe a good percentage of our young people, they don't know what they're doing. And inside their family, the family is not talking about important issue to educate the young people about what happened around them, what we believe in, what the family value, why you have to be a good believer. Is it the family? Is it the parents not doing their job?
I think that parents, I think as parents we could do more, but it's difficult. I know a lot of parents are working and they, expect a certain amount of help through our education system, but I think there's also a lot of broken families in America, and we see that happening here. We see
broken family, even inside the family, but they are broken. The children not listening to the parents have their problem, and as you mentioned. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's, I think that it's the breakdown of the family that gives rise to rebellion and some of these other ideas that are being infiltrated in our culture. I know for myself that this is the freest, best nation in the world to live in. And so many people have fled here from tyrannical governments, from socialism, from communism. And I think that right now their voice really matters.
Those people, they believe in America.
Oh, yes.
Those people, they believe, and what happened now, it's wrong. But the children, the problem is the children. They brainwash them. And they go after their friend without knowing what they're going for. You see them in the street doing a lot of bad things.
Well, I think that every generation, and I don't necessarily blame the younger generation, because everybody wants to fight for something. Every generation wants to have something that they believe in, that they're fighting for. But the narrative right now that's being fought for is not the right narrative. Unfortunately, they haven't been educated on what socialism does in other countries. It's caused the death of over 100 million people, democide by government. So they're only hearing sweet words about it from their professors, words about equality, but there's a difference between equality of opportunity and equality of result. Socialism pushes for equality of result, where everybody is the same, and that's pretty much communism.
Controlled by nobody.
Yes, and in our country, it's equality of opportunity. Everybody is able to, use their hard work, use their giftings, and go into the marketplace and bring something that can better their community.
Yes, and I think that's why you're running for the Congress. So tell me, how is the campaign going?
The campaign's going good. I mean, I'm passionate about the message, and as I mentioned, I'm not a career politician, so I'm strictly in this office to be a voice for the people, to be a voice for America, to help save our nation. I believe this election is so important that if we don't rise up as a nation and say, hey, the foundation of this nation is actually a good foundation, we don't want to change that. We can always progress and look at areas where we can develop and actually come together in unity, but there are voices in this country that want to divide us, that want us to be tribal and separate us. And I want to be a voice for unity and be a voice for the opportunities that we have and bring people together. We're all here, and it's a great place. We're here because we all want the American dream, and we need to keep it alive.
Great. Carmelita, I know there's people running against you, and there's, of course, the other side, the Democratic Party. What makes you different from those? Why should I vote for you, not vote for the other? Well, Give me 2 or 3 things.
Okay. Well, I think to start out, just the very reason that I believe America was made for people like me, American citizens, to step forward and be a voice for their community. It's not made for career politicians. Right now, we have too many career politicians that have been in office too long, or people that want to go into government for some level of upward mobility or a career. So
are you trying to change this if you go to Congress?
I would like term limits. And I think that, there have been people that have talked about that, but I think that we should serve only up to 3 term limits in Congress. In Congress. So I believe in term limits. I believe this is a servant position, and I'm stepping forward. My understanding is using your gifts to be a blessing, and that's what I'm doing. I want to use what I have. My husband and I, we put a certain amount of money forward to run this campaign. We're also running a strong grassroots campaign as well. And so I'm committed just to being a voice for the people, not the DC swamp. And I'm not
What
a career
you will
politician.
do for Michigan that other people, you believe they're not going to do that. We're going to send you to the Congress to represent Michigan. And what's your goal to help the Michigander economically or socially?
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know.
Well, I'm a strong voice for business and entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And
Tell me more, because that the Middle Eastern, and we are catering to the Middle Eastern. There is in Michigan about 500,000, and nationwide about 10 million. Tell me what you could do for them as a business people. That's very important to them, honestly.
Yeah. Well, honestly, when we look at socialism, so standing against the socialism altogether and the attack on small businesses and businesses in general. So being a voice against socialism, number one, and any programs that are coming down the road that would limit small business or individual
will destroy
citizens.
Business.
Exactly.
Because they want everything to run by the government.
Right, it's about government control. So decreased regulations. I also want to be in contact with individual business owners. I really believe I would be in office to be a servant, and I want to hear from them. I'll do my best to connect with local businesses here and see how I can really help them and deregulate and be a voice for small businesses. I know many small businesses were hurt through the COVID-19 crisis, and then a lot of the measures that the governor tightened up where decided which businesses are essential and which are non-essential. I believe that all businesses are essential. So I want to be a voice for less government, more freedom, less taxes, less regulation. I did have an opportunity to meet with 2 small business owners during the election through the community, interview with them. So I've met with other business owners, but actually interview and get the ins and outs of their businesses. One was a manufacturer in Livonia, and he was just explaining to me how even local government can really limit how, with regulation, where you can be, what area you can be in. So just overall being a voice for entrepreneurship, empowering small businesses. I think we need to do more in our high schools with encouraging entrepreneurship. Not everybody goes right from high school to college. Some people might be better starting a business or being a voice for business, people going into manufacturing jobs or entrepreneurship. This is what we're built on. That's what this nation is built on. So in any way that I can help business, I want to do that.
I know your background is finance and all that. And finance is very important for the small business. If somebody, for example, buy a hotel for 10 million, he needs a good financial institute to work with them. And a lot of those institutes, honestly, although sometimes the federal government they support those and they pump a lot of money with very low interest, but they're not open to those small businesses to make them grow by giving them good loans with interest rate. So can you help them when you be in Washington?
I'll do my best to look at that system and see how we can support small businesses. But I also think banking, looking at how we can help local small banking, help supporting their communities. I've seen that might be the best. Instead of the national bank, looking with it, with the local communities, because I think it's those local banks and keeping those thriving so they can help support their community.
I see.
And keeping those interest rate low is important, and keeping our economy thriving.
That's how small businesses grow, honestly, by working together with financial institute and getting some support from the government with less taxes and less regulation,
Yes.
How you related to the Middle Eastern community? I know you came from ethnic background and all that. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, well, the Middle Eastern community, I would say that, my mom grew up in Dearborn, Michigan. She was born in Detroit, but grew up in Dearborn, Michigan.
Yes.
There's a large Middle Eastern community all around
the area you're talking about,
exactly.
Surrounded by them.
So for me, it was always a part of our community.
Yes.
It's places.
Do you feel because you are coming from ethnic background, you related to ethnic minorities?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that just the way I look, many people mistake me for many different nationalities, and so in that way,
it goes either Middle Eastern or Greek or Italian. So give me the one.
and actually, I have Mexican, French, and Hungarian ancestry. But there's, our big world. If you look at if you look at Europe, there were many people that came from the Middle East into Europe,
Sure.
and all. But I love the diverse culture of this country, and as somebody that just loves to travel, I love culture and love this world. And I want to be a voice for America because it brings everybody together into this nation to be a platform for freedom and a voice for that. But I mean, other than loving Middle Eastern music and food, I mean, you know, I frequent a lot of those restaurants as well. So, and I think that's probably, people would say it about Mexican food. I mean, when you look at Mexican food, it's exported all over the world.
Absolutely.
You could probably, you know, be in Dubai and you're eating Mexican food. So, and I think that's a wonderful thing, how, you know, we can bring a little flavor of who we are as people.
And, you know, knowing honestly about you and the way you believe, the way that you want our country, and you want your first start with your family and with your city and your country to be. What's your message to the Middle Eastern community? Why you think they should come and vote for you? And we heard a lot, something that relate to them, honestly. What we talk now, relate and important to them. So give me a minute or so to talk, why should they come and vote for you? And
well, promoting business, I think we talked about that. I'm a strong constitutionalist, so if we support our Constitution, we support the freedoms and the liberty of everybody in this country. That's what's secured under the Constitution. And I know that the Middle Eastern community is also a strong community, conservatives that have family values. So as a conservative, being a voice for family values, and very importantly, I believe parents have the right over their own children, how they learn, what school they go to, just being a voice for parents and families. I'm a strong advocate. I'm a mother of 3. My oldest is 12 and my youngest 5. So I would say those are the 3 primary reasons. I want to help the president improve our economy. The economy is very important as well for everyone in this nation. And also be a voice against division. Right now, there's a lot of talk.
Important.
There's a lot of talk about
so divided. So divided.
And there's a lot of talk about, you know, racism and calling people, you know, all of these things without legitimate, without any legitimate cause. So I think that when people start throwing these names out to people, I think it's detrimental to our nation. And I want to be a voice for truth, for unity, for the beauty that we are as Americans, that we are a melting pot of people. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And I know what you believe in, the Middle Eastern believe in too.
Thank you. And I look forward to meeting more people in the Middle Eastern community and visiting some of the local businesses and just being a voice for the Middle Eastern community and for America as a whole.
Thank you so much. Dear reviewer, that was my interview with Carmelita. Last name?
Greco.
Greco. Honestly, I met her a few times, and the way she talked, the reason she talked, the reason she's running for Congress is to bring us together. And I look at her family and her background. She believed in what us, the Middle Eastern community, believe in. She believed in family value. She believes she's very pro small business and everything, less taxes, less regulation, and unity among first the family and the society. And honestly, that in say what's the Middle Eastern community is the family value. It's close to the religion. It's being caring about each other and helping each other and helping and supporting our small business. For that reason, if it's a Democrat, if it's a Republican, honestly, for that reason, we should vote for her because she'll be the voice that speak on our behalf and defend our issue in Washington. So please, in August 4, and this is very important for her because the primary is very important to her in August 4 to go and vote for her. And if she won, she's going to be our representative in Washington. Thanks for watching and good night.